What's up? It is Ben Sheppard here, and welcome back to RunThrough TV. Okay, let's get into today's conversation with Chris Ford. You might know Chris as Chris, or you might know Chris as Fordy Runs, because he is the man behind the hugely successful running club and also now YouTube channel as well. In this conversation, we talk a little bit more about both. To be honest, we get into Chris and his running journey a little bit more as well, and why it's not always about time for him, and maybe why it shouldn't be always about time for you as well. I hope you enjoy this, and if at any point you do, please do give it a thumbs up here on RunThrough TV and consider subscribing to the channel as well.
Most people know me as Fordy, but my actual name is Chris Ford. I'm an everyday runner, and I started Fordy Runs just over 5 years ago, bringing everyday runners together, and we're now it's gone a bit berserk. So we're now one of the biggest clubs in the country. We've got a YouTube channel, award-winning podcast, and all that kind of stuff, really. And it's grown like to another level that I can't believe. And I'm incredibly proud of it. But more importantly, I'm incredibly proud of the people that are within the community and club that we've built and brought people together. It's that's me. I always get told off because I always talk to guys and say it's not about me. It's about them, which they say, well, yeah, but you're sort of the guy who started it. But it's now got to the point where it's all about them, and that's the most important thing. So, for your guys who are watching or listening to this, you've probably seen some of our guys or runners and with the big logo plastered all over them and all that kind of stuff. So that's who we are, really.
It's interesting you say that because the first time I came across you, it was Fordy, and it took me ages to work out what your first name was, and I only got it by on your Instagram page. You've got it on your vest, haven't you? That's literally how I found it out.
But sometimes, so I got on Sunday at the Hackney Half, on my race number I had 00 Doug. So I wouldn't normally go with what I've got, because sometimes I'm mucking about and I will put other people's names on there, or even on like my race bibs, I'll get like Speakout written on there. So I try. I'm mucking about most of the time, but yes, it is Chris.
Take me back then to sort of 5 years ago when you decided to start this. What was kind of the thought process behind that, and why did you decide to sort of roll the dice and get Fordy Runs going?
Yeah, it started out. I think it's well documented now for most the guys, but for those who don't know, it was a story of I got into running to lose weight and whatnot, and for my mental health. I suffer with ADHD. I didn't know that back then, but I was diagnosed, and the running really helps me, and all the things that go along with that. But back then, so part of that is that you suffer with anxiety. So the reason I say that is because I got a place in the London Marathon. It was always a dream to do that, because my brother-in-law, who inspired me to start running and helped me start running, he did the London Marathon. So I wanted to do it, and then I got to that event. And again, as somebody who suffers with anxiety, I was sort of sitting there in Greenwich in the Red Start and like looking around me, and everybody was kind of thinking and feeling the same thing. And I was just like, why is no one talking to each other? There was obviously some select people sitting there talking, but nobody was talking to each other. Nobody was having fun. And it's meant to be a really fun, enjoyable day. And I was, to say, riddled with anxiety. And that sort of carried on, for the first part of the race and stuff. So I thought to myself, well, I'm just going to bring people together like me, like just normal people, like dads and mums, and as I say, everyday runners who are just out there, whether, they're running for mental health or weight loss or whatever it is, right? And bring them together, put them in a community together so we can share and we can support each other. And that's where it started. And then obviously outside of that, then grew to 50,000 or whatever stupid number it is now. And then we built the club came out of that because people wanted to get affiliation. But again, a lot of people get anxiety around going to running clubs, and there's nothing against traditional running clubs. I think they serve a very good purpose and they're a fantastic thing. But some are, quite traditional, let's call it, without upsetting anybody. And that, if you're like me, an everyday runner, and you're just trying to run, but you want to socialise, but you go along to one of these traditional clubs, sometimes that can be quite off-putting because you get put with slower people, you get made to feel, a little bit silly, not deliberately, but you can feel a bit insecure about the whole thing. So we wanted to start a club out of that with the England affiliation to offer people like myself the opportunity to get the affiliation, but maybe you don't want to go to a track, or maybe you don't want to run with like the B team, as they call it quite openly, and that sort of thing. So we started that, and then I thought to myself, well, why don't we bring people together on a local basis? So we started communities within communities, and then the satellite group model started. Now we've got nearly 30 groups meeting socially and doing coaching, because I'm a qualified athletics and running coach, so we do coaching as well. And we started that model. So we've got like this virtual model going on if you wanted to be part of a club, or you can be like a social member, so it's free as well, so anybody can join. And then we've got like the physical, which has gone ballistic this year. Like it's just blown up, because there's obviously this big desire, which is great post-pandemic, to really get together again. But it's in an environment that's fun, friendly, supportive. We don't care how fast you run. We don't care how far you run. We don't care what top you've got on. I mean, we mentioned about the tops, but I made sure in the club thing that you have to put into athletics about certain things, that I made sure that you didn't have to run in a club top at a race, because there's obviously, again, no problem with that. You see the race and it's great. You see like the Fulham top, and you see those running clubs that are brilliant. But we deliberately made it not mandatory to wear a club top. So maybe you can't afford one, so you can just turn up in whatever you want to do and still feel part of what we've got going on. A great example at the weekend, we did the Stalk 10. A load of our runners were at the Stalk 10, and we had a lot of the club, but we also had some of the community members there. And one of our sort of prolific community members who organises a lot of our volunteering, because one of the other things we do is we do a lot of volunteering at races, so London Marathon and all the big events. But one of our ladies, Paula, was there, and she was in her local club top. She's not a member of our club, we're second choice, but she was at the front holding the flag, because she's a massive part of the community. So again, we don't care. We provide a platform, a place, a family for people who just want to run for whatever reason. And don't get me wrong, we've got fast runners, right? And we've got amazing people who, and I still don't know how they do it, like do the marathon in 8 hours, which is unbelievable. Incredible. Really.
Yeah.
I couldn't run for that long. So I think that hopefully gives you a sort of where the idea came from, and where it is now. And more importantly, I think the ethos of it, to make it fun, supportive, but most importantly than anything else, inclusive.
I host loads of events as well for RunThrough, and when we've got a marathon and somebody's out there for, between 6.5 and 8 hours, I am more impressed than people crossing the line in sub 3, because it is unbelievable to go through that for that amount of time. Because what I always say to people is they're not going through anything different. They're just going through it for a longer period of time. Taking you back to the first marathon, for you doing that, was that one and done? Did you think that's what it was going to be? Did you envisage any of this?
I never envisaged where we are now. I'm very, very lucky with what goes on with Fordy Runs, is that I have an incredible amount of people that help support and believe in what we do. So they've I say started it, but they've then come on board and taken it to another level. So when I did that first marathon, I never thought that we would be like anywhere near that wasn't the plan. And my plan was just literally, let's start a group of people and bring them together. And I never thought I would do necessarily another marathon. But when I completed that, and like as I said, I was riddled with anxiety at the start. I just thought to myself, I didn't probably get the most out of that experience. So let me think to myself, do I want to do that again? Yeah, probably, because I've learned a lot. And hopefully this time, I think it's anybody who suffers anxiety, when you've done something once, you don't fear it as much, and you get that understanding of what's coming your way. Even silly things like, I've done London. How many medals? I've got 5 London medals now. But every time I've done it, it's like, it's always breaking those mental barriers as you go through. I had a panic attack at 6 miles one year. And then I had a mental block up at Mudchute for a couple of times. It's just, and that's just the way my brain is. Yeah. But eventually I beat that. And this year I ran through it. And I think, it's probably my cleanest race in terms of, and the most enjoyable race, because I didn't have any of those hang-ups. and it took me that many times to run it. But yeah, looking back, no, I never thought that I would run it as many times as I've done, or done as many marathons as I've done, or got to where we've got to with Fordy Runs, and being that sort of what it is. It's crazy. Honestly, it blows my mind. And to give it, I think a good example of where we've come. I mean, there's loads of examples. I mean, you think about the extreme park run where we've just sold out a hovercraft to go to the Isle of Wight because people want to go and do the park run over there. We literally sold a hovercraft out. You can't get on one to the Isle of Wight. To see that, it's amazing. But it's the finer details. So like last night, we sent Petra off, who's one of our. We took Petra and we've trained her up in through England Athletics, and she's getting married. So we did a really nice session for her last night in Hartford, and you see those friendships that are made, and it's a bit cheesy, but it's quite heartwarming. You see these people who are now going to her wedding or to a hen do that met through Fordy Runs, and we've got people getting married. We've had people get married this year, and we get people more married through Fordy Runs this year, which is like. But also, like I said to you, I think before we come, I did a podcast the other day. I think it's out today on the long run show that we do, and I met somebody who was a gambling addict, but he reached out to us because of what we believe in, the way we come across as everyday runners, and he wanted to tell that story to try and help other people, and that's really powerful. The fact that we're now a platform where people who have come through that and then want to share it with other people within Fordy Runs and externally. I think it's amazing. They're the little things that really you go, Jesus, actually we've done something quite powerful here.
It must be quite strange for you as well, because often you're the person that is enthusiastic and out there, and you're the host, and you are the face of Fordy Runs. But to sit back sometimes and actually have a conversation and be like, oh yeah, we have actually come a very, very long way. That must make you feel quite proud almost.
Yeah, I don't do that much, to be honest. I'm always, well, as I said, somebody with ADHD, you always got lists and you're starting something you're not finishing. It's classic stuff, really. But you are right. It is nice when when the guys, again, I've got amazing people like just administrators on the Facebook group, or the satellite leaders, or whether it's Hayden or Abin or somebody like that, and they go, what, just take a step back and realise what we've done here. I mean, again, we started this week. We started 2 clubs in Sheffield and Exeter, and we're going to be starting one in Great Dunmow. I mean, Hayden never knew where Great Dunmow was.
No, I mean, I don't know where Great Dunmow is.
Yeah, 19 people who want to get together and go running because they believe in the ethos of that. We just want to get together and have a social run. But yes, to answer your question, no, I don't sit back and think of that. I probably should do it a bit more, and I do sometimes forget that I am the face of Fordy Runs when I'm mucking about at races and events and saying things that I shouldn't be saying, and I get told off because I should be more corporate. And even like on the shoe reviews and the kit reviews, when I say it how it is, that's the way I've been brought up, that way, to always say it how it is. Sometimes I think before I speak, but most of the time I don't, and I end up upsetting brands, or upset because I, if something's too expensive or something's terrible, I'm going to say how it is, and I think that resonates with people. So much to my own. And we've got in trouble with quite a few brands. We've got in trouble with races as well. Good thing is we like RunThrough, but we've got in trouble with races that we've been to, and we've said. But we're only saying how we feel about stuff. And I think again we're speaking from an everyday runner's perspective. Yes, some of it we're mucking about deliberately, but a lot of the time we're just saying I think what most people, like normal people, are thinking, and I think that resonates. And I probably should sit back and think about it a little bit. But there's always something going on.
And that's the thing. There's always the next thing, isn't there? But like you say what you believe and you say what you think. And I always think that authenticity is the biggest thing, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're authentic, then people will trust you. And if you can be trusted, then, things build. And without authenticity, you don't get anywhere. So, I think that's what you have in spades, whether it's watching your videos or listening to the podcast or even just following you on social. I think that authenticity is one thing that people probably really cling on to and kind of see part of you in them a lot of the time as well. It's sometimes difficult, and this is the everyday runner thing, isn't it? When you see XYZ person posting a session that you think, there is absolutely no way on planet Earth that I could even get through the first 10 minutes of that.
I know.
And it almost makes it, running is very inclusive, but in ways it can be very exclusive. And it's kind of like, I guess, breaking that barrier down.
Yeah, it is. And it's similar. And actually, I just go with what I said. I coach. So I have one-to-one clients that I coach, right? And England Athletics always know if it's one of our lurves or curves that are coming through that I've trained up, because it's a completely different way of coaching versus your traditional on the track. We're going to do this session, and you're right. The way I would train somebody, and I've been really lucky with my clients. We talk about London Marathon. One of my runners, he had a muscle disorder. First person to complete London Marathon with that, absolute hero. But we keep it simple and we change it and we make it, again, it's relatable because I've been through it. So, it's very easy to sit there and go, you've got to do 4x4, 100 meters, blah, 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 blah. Some people just go, I ain't got a clue what that means. I live on an industrial estate. What am I going to do there? Or I ain't got time. I work shifts. Well, what am I meant to do with a 7-day plan? Well, that means nothing to me. 100 miles a week. You what? I've got 3 kids. So that's where my coaching style is very different to, your tradition. Again, there's nothing wrong with that traditional because it obviously gets results. But so again, it's that inclusivity, but coming it from an everyday runner's perspective. And we coach like that and we lead like that throughout the club. So every session, if you come along to a session that we do, everybody can take part. Everybody can take part. So we yes, if you want to go out and smash out 4-minute miles, crack on, that's great. But at the same time, we're going to be there with people who are doing 17, 18-minute miles because the session is applicable to everybody. And that's the ethos that runs through the club. And
you'll get that people developing through that though as well, won't you? You'll get people that want to go on and do your, 8x2 mile with 5 minutes off. You'll find people that want to do that, but you'll also find people that literally are just using running for, cliche, but their therapy and going out and doing it. And you will find both. And some people will develop into that, and some people might step back from that, which I think is the beautiful thing about it. Yeah, it is powerful, and you see people develop, and they get a taste for it as well. Yeah, all that. Yeah. So all of a sudden they'll go along to us. Oh yeah, we'll just get couch to 5K. Great, got a great group down in Southend. They had a load of people do the couch to 5K, and then all of a sudden they're signing up for 10Ks run-through events, and they come through, and all of a sudden marathons. And it's like, through the whole journey, and it's like, and now they want to get a bit faster, or they want to do this, or they want to do that, and they're so ingrained with it all that it's taken over their life. And I think anybody who's a runner, you can relate to that. And yeah, it's amazing. Or you just get that person who, like we've got some of our runners, they know on a Tuesday that's going to be their high effort, their hard effort for the week. They'll get away with what they can get away with the week, but they know pretty much they've got to turn up and they've got a bit of a shift in, right? And they use that. So it's a bit of everybody. And again, that's why we do it how we do it, and we push that out. And we're blessed because we've got these satellite leaders who are prepared to do this every week on their own. And it's almost similar to, and it's a bit of a pivot, but it's like our volunteers at the big events that I said about earlier. So we're really lucky. We're probably the club that provides the most volunteers to the big races now, right? Because we've just got an amazing pool of people who I think get it about the fact that these things don't go ahead. We've also got a lot of people in our club community who are parkrun directors and volunteer parkrun. So if we go like to do extreme parkrun, like the guys who are all going on a hovercraft, we did one at Great Yarmouth, but we'll send volunteers to that event as well. But you'll know they're our volunteers because, like at London Landmarks, they're the loudest on the course. Or at Blackheath, I was having a convo with them. I was in the Yellow Star, and they're over on the vans, and they're out chatting away and this and that. Again, they're completely, they're just different. It's a different vibe. I think it's that fun, supportive. Let's have a bit of fun. It doesn't need to be about times. It doesn't need to be about stress. About let's just have some good. Yeah, if you want to run a time, great. If you want to put a bit of a shift in, but let's try and have a bit of fun as well, right? I think that's the key to it all. One thing you've mentioned already when we were talking about upsetting people is brands, and one thing that you're on your channel and people follow you for are the shoe reviews. For the time you've been doing them, how much have you seen development in kind of that shoe tech?
Oh, the shoe tech's been incredible. It's funny enough, I've got a video coming out, I think it's a week or two, where I compare Nike 4%, like the original, let's call it the OG carbon plate, and the 2023 Vaporfly 3. It was quite cool because I went out, I just had 6 miles on the plan, and I just did, 1 week I was on one, and 1 week I was on the other. And it was kind of cool to see the sort of difference between the two, and the stack heights and the aggressiveness of the plates and the foams, even though it was Zoom X, but it's definitely been developed, the uppers, and yeah, it's been incredible. But what I think's been amazing with people like myself doing these sort of reviews, and it's obviously led massively from the guys in the US who, I'm very lucky that I have good relationships and we're working together on certain things. But that sort of has opened up, I think, some of the other brands to some runners, because there was always that traditional, and I love Brooks, but you'll go into a running store, chances are you'll probably get put into a pair of Brooks or something similar to that, because they're very good shoes, right? But now people go, oh, I just saw, I don't know, Kafuzi, he's just reviewed a pair of Saucony Guide 15 stability shoe, or, the guys that believe in the run have just reviewed the latest New Balance shoe. And I think that the fact that we're out there putting different brands and saying, like, I'm famously linked with Skechers because Skechers sponsor the podcast, right? So we, and quite openly, push Skechers because I love the things because they're so damn comfortable. All right, they're a little bit harder to get over here, but we're opening people up, I think, to different brands instead of the traditional, oh, we've got to go and get a Nike Pegasus. And I get a little bit upset when I still see people posting on like Instagram or YouTube and they're doing videos because the Nike Pegasus is the best thing. It's because they've been, given it, and it's not, they want to try and get with Nike. I'm no idiot. And the good thing is that people now know when that's like rubbish that they're being told. So that's great. The fact that there's so many reviewers out there telling it how it is a bit more, because they've still got that corporate stuff, which I get, right? Because I said I get told off because I'm not very corporate. But I think it has opened up more shoes, more brands to people's, like to see people like Harrier, they've got great hydration. To see companies like that, the channels like myself are promoting, some of the different stuff out there that you see more and more. It's good, I think. It really is. And hopefully over here in the UK, we see more of it. And not just my channel, but other channels, people reviewing different things to show that it's not just, you don't have to go and spend $8,000 at Lululemon, or, buy a Soar running top, and there's nothing against Soar, for 500 quid or whatever they are, because you want to do a race. You can go into, I got my one off Adidas or whatever, Nike for like 27 quid.
Yeah.
Again, they're all good stuff, but, a Decathlon's a great example of it, how cheap Decathlon is. I mean, to open people's eyes up to go and get a pair of running shorts from Decathlon for a £5, it makes complete, or best example, we did the Amsterdam Marathon, and we thought it'd be a brilliant idea to wear arm warmers. Not because they'd make us run faster, because we were bloody freezing. So we got these ones from Amazon for £6, right? We put them on. We look like absolute heroes. We didn't.
I've seen the video.
On that video or Instagram, where'd you get them arm warmers? Where'd you get them? They're all thinking that they're, Soar or these really expensive Tracksmith or, these really expensive. And we went, no, we got them from Amazon for £6. And they did perfect job. You put that out there and people, I think, they go, oh, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. That guy's keeping it real.
Yeah.
And I think, as you said, that's what maybe people, resonate with.
And the consumer nowadays isn't after they. That's the other thing. Like, there's so much out there that it almost forces people to look a bit harder. Whereas it used to kind of be, all right, this is the thing people think is good, let's get that. Now it's like, there's about 1,500 different carbon plated shoes. So we're actually going to have to do some sort of work, unless we want to spend $3,000 and buy every single pair that's possible.
Well, this is the thing, you traditionally used to go on Runner's World, read Runner's World review, which is paid because they're journalists and they're doing a great job, but they get sent it in, they've got to write nice things as they get sent stuff again. It's that sort of drill with the journalists, and again, nothing against, they've got to make a living, right? But now, because you've got independent people coming and going, maybe that's not as good as you think it is, or actually I really like these because I'm a really big thick set guy, and actually this worked for me, because believe it or not, there's like bigger, thicker set of people out there who like running as well.
Yeah.
Or there's like people who really pronate and they need stability shoes. and they need to find somewhere that's reviewing them, because again, that always makes me laugh when I see people on YouTube reviewing stability shoes, but they don't need a stability shoe. So how can you even take that seriously? But they're doing it, bless them, because they've been sent them and they've got to put it out to keep the company at me. I wouldn't bother. And I've not reviewed stuff because it's not for me. And I've turned stuff down because it's pointless me reviewing it, because I don't need it. So why do I need to make a video? I've got better things to do. And that's the great thing, as you say, the consumer now knows this, has got this power because of the amazing platforms that we've got on social media. You can hunt it out. And again, we're all smart. We can sense that sort of BS from a mile off, can't you? You know when it's been paid for or something. And again, don't get me wrong, because I get sent a lot of gear, right? And you could turn around and say, oh, you're only doing this because you got sent it. But I think hopefully you see from my videos, even if I've been sent it and it's rubbish, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can give you some examples of some brands that no longer send us stuff because we've been, honest. And I think we will never stop being honest at Fordy Runs, not just about shoes, about races, about any products or anything that we go to, see or whatever. We'll always be honest. Whether it's wrong or right is down to opinion. And that's the great thing. Just because we say a race is not very good, that doesn't mean it's not that it is that. That's just because that's their experience. So is that person right or wrong? Well, neither really. It's their own opinion and they're welcome to it. Why start angry typing about it? It's not going to change anything. But that's the power now that I think running's got. Yeah. We've all got these, like different places we can source different things, however you get it, whether it's on a podcast review or, or a YouTube video or in a traditional magazine, you can get those sources of reviews on if you're looking for certain things, or even like on races and things. It's amazing, really.
Just touching on your running itself now, mate, because you're coming off a nice shiny new marathon PB. What does the next 6 to 12 months hold in store for yourself?
Well, I stupidly opened my mouth and said that I want a Boston qualifying time.
Well, I did see that, and I was kind of like milking that out of you there. So there you go.
But the reason that is, and firstly, I was inspired by Hayden, who's one of our long run show podcast hosts, a good mate of mine, one of our satellite champions, does a lot for the club. But he ran a Boston qualifying time. He ran 3:17, and he's getting on a bit. He's 52. No, he's not. But he put down a time which and I thought, you know what? Actually, that was quite impressive. And then he gave me a bit of a kick up the butt and said, look, Fordy, you've got to stop mucking about here, because you are faster than you believe you are. If you stop filming stuff and, jumping into the crowd, you might actually, be able to do what you probably could do. And again, I say it, people still come. I don't run for times. Okay. I quite openly say that I don't run for times. But if I can push myself and have, and the word I use is belief in myself, then the times and the experience will take care of itself. So for me, when you talk about London and the PB that I ran, it wasn't about the time. It was the experience of being able to run competently at the marathon distance. Because before, I don't think I've done myself justice over that distance. I still don't believe, I think I might be wrong with the number, but it's 11, 12 marathons. And I don't believe I'm experienced at the marathon distance. I think it's really tough to get it right.
Yeah.
So to feel that I felt was really positive. And that then has given me the belief, not the time, but it was the way in which I performed mentally, physically on that day. Because again, I could have done probably harder. I got told off at the end from the guys because
you looked very fresh.
Yeah, I was probably a bit too fresh. But it's given me the belief to then sort of kick on. If I can then knuckle down a bit on the training and that sort of stuff. And I've got some amazing opportunities coming my way at the end of the year. Unfortunately for you, I can't yet talk about them. But but I have got some amazing opportunities coming my way at the end of the year and into next year that I'm hoping will give me the experience to then go and chase that time down. When it comes, I don't know. I've got to wait till next year, because when I'm 45, the threshold comes down a bit, or goes up, whatever way it is for Boston. So definitely not going for it this year. So it could be, we could look at the spring marathon, but again, with the opportunities that I'm being presented with, which is just amazing, where I do that, I don't know. I might even just rock up to, I don't know, Dorney or somewhere like that. But I don't know. But yeah, so that's me and my running, I think, for the next 6 to 12 months, is to focus in on that. I've got to dial it in terms of a little bit up here, you know, and just work on a lot more of that sort of stuff, really.
And finally, mate, like, there'll be people watching this now that have discovered this through searching for you, or just on YouTube, or looking at maybe one of RunThrough's events, and they're thinking, they're in that first stage. They're thinking to themselves, like, I reckon I might give this running malarkey a crack. Like, what would you say to them?
Enjoy it. 100% enjoy it. We all get off the couch and we go, right, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to get healthy. And they all run too fast, right? So you make sure you go on the NHS website, it's free, at Bosch, get yourself out there. But enjoy the process. Enjoy the point at which you get, you know, to that 5K. And then enjoy, maybe you want to go and do a little bit of 10K action, or you want to go along to a club like Fordy Runs, or whatever it is. Or you want to go to a RunThrough event every week, because then you build friends in the community within RunThrough, a place like that, which is amazing. You know, whatever it is, but most importantly, just enjoy it. That's the thing I always do when I'm at races. Even at London, I stopped, you know, in front where the Fordy Runs cheer station was at mile 19, I think we are 18. I stopped there and I was mucking about because I was having fun, and I think that's the key to it. There's no point doing anything unless you're enjoying it. So if you're going to go on and start that running journey, you've got to remember to enjoy it, because it's bleeding hard sometimes, right? Some days you're just not feeling it, but just go out there and enjoy it. I always say, I make the guys laugh, but you know, we get one go on this rodeo. Do you know what I mean? And at some point you're going to get bucked off that horse, and and that's you done. Okay. So while you're on there, enjoy the ride and have fun. That's the key point to, I think, running. And I think that's what makes me addicted to it, and addicted to everything that we stand for in Fordy Runs, is because we're always having fun. I can go to an event, there will be another Fordy Runner there, and we'll have a good time, and that's all that matters.